Hi, this is Paul, and in this module, we're going to be talking about how to use Trello for your job search. Now, let's talk about what we're going to discuss in this particular course. We're going to talk about the importance of maintaining an organized search. We're also going to talk about and review the current methods used for job search tracking. And then I'm going to give you an introduction to the system called Trello. And then we'll use Trello for how we're going to perform the job search. And I'm going to give you a lot of examples and scenarios to cover so you can really see firsthand what it's like to use Trello for a job search. Now, there are a lot of challenges for looking for work. It's just a fact. There are a lot of things you need to think about. Number one, it's a full-time job looking for work. It really is a full-time job. It takes a lot of time to think about all the different things that you need to do, from a resume to tracking all of the opportunities that you have. And it requires a ton of energy. There's really a lot that you need to put into it. And with all that, it's important that you maintain an organized search to do all that, to manage all of that. Now, job searches require, like I said, a lot of organization, and there's lots of job-related information to track as part of your search. And if you leave too much to memory, chances are you're probably going to miss something that you needed to track properly. And if you're not organized properly, just poor organization can prolong your search. Sometimes you might miss out on opportunities because you didn't properly organize and plan the information that you had out. And in some cases, for unemployment benefits, tracking the work related to a job search may be required. So next, let's talk about what the traditional and more current methods for tracking a job search are. A lot of people use physical files and folders, and with all these that I mentioned, there's nothing wrong with any of them. And you might want to include all different components of the things that we're going to talk about here as part of your search, but along with using Trello. But these are things that typically are the most common, and that people have physical files and folders, and people might take notes or print something out from the internet, and those are all totally reasonable things to do, and are probably things you're going to still do regardless of if you use Trello or not. People also use electronic files or folders. They might store documents on their computer or in places like Dropbox or Box or SharePoint, all these different repositories, just to have it electronically so people can have something on their iPhone or on their Windows or Mac computer. A lot of people also track information related to their job search in emails and email folders. So let's say you're emailing with a recruiter or with someone from an HR department. Those emails that you have, you may want to store those email correspondences inside an email folder in your program, whether you use Outlook or Gmail or Yahoo. There are ways to use folders to store all those different correspondences. And then as part of doing a search, in addition to physical files and electronic files, you can also use fee-based software. So there are software packages that exist on the market today to help you with a search. And some of those tools are better than others, and some of them are a little bit dated. But what we're going to talk about today is a way that you can use a free software to help you do that search. So the fact is that today's complex job searches can greatly benefit from easy-to-use technology. And even though you can use these things like physical folders and electronic folders and email, there are specific technologies that can help make it a little bit better. And I'm going to propose that Trello is one of the best ways for you to do that. So what is Trello? Trello is an easy-to-use application. It's flexible, easily adaptable. You're able to manage lots of different data types, and we'll talk about those different data types as part of this training. You can integrate it with lots of different third-party applications, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And it's available on the web. There's nothing that you need to install on your computer. It's also available on mobile devices like an iPhone, and you can have all this information at your disposal electronically. And best of all, it's free, and there are some upgrade capabilities for some of the third-party apps you can integrate with, but you don't even need to use those. You can just use what comes with the software and what's free. So let's talk about some Trello basics. In Trello, they have the concept of boards, and boards are used to manage different types of information. Boards can contain various different types of lists. And then within those lists, Lists can contain cards, and then cards can contain data. And we'll talk about all these things. I'll give you lots of examples of that as we go on. So now that we've talked about boards and lists and cards, let's talk about, and I want to give you an introduction to the primary Trello tracking boards that we're going to use to configure Trello to help us with the search. There are 4 that we're going to work with. 1, we're going to work with an opportunities board. Next, we're going to cover a recruiters board. After that, we'll talk about a network board. And then finally, a references board. And in each one of these cases, I'm going to talk about what each board is for and how we're going to use each board. So when we're working with Trello boards and we're having these discussions on these 4 different areas, what I'm going to do over the next series of slides is give you a number of examples that we're going to work with for each of the boards. I'm going to talk about the type of lists that you're going to have in each of those boards. We're then going to discuss how you're going to use cards in those lists on those boards. We're going to talk about how you can leverage labels with the cards. And we're going to go through some very detailed scenarios of the examples that we talk about, so I can give you a demonstration and a walkthrough for how all of that works. Now, when working with boards, there's a lot to set up with all these different boards and lists. And so what I want to do as part of this training is to jumpstart your process with using Trello. And a great way to do that, because creating lists can take time depending on complexity, is that I've included a number of templates that are available to you as part of this class. And they're going to be templates for each of those 4 boards that we talked about. And what those templates are going to do is they're going to contain pre-formatted lists for you to use, a dummy template card with checklists in some cases, pre-formatted labels, and I'm going to access those templates as part of our walkthroughs and make a copy of it, and you'll be able to do the exact same thing to jumpstart, I call it jumpstarting, to jumpstart your process to using Trello for your job search. Just make it a whole lot easier.